with the Tampa Hillsborough County Public Library, and we are pleased to welcome back Chef Mira, who's going to show us some cooking tips and instructions for one of my favorite types of eating and cooking, which is postres, or desserts. These are recipes from Latin America because we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. So before we get into the actual recipes, which I am looking forward to, let's go ahead and do our book shout out. And I actually selected two books from our catalog. One is called Dulce de Leche. This is available on Hoopla, and you know I love Hoopla because it is a digital streaming service where you have 12 checkouts per month, but there's never any wait, so we could all check out the same book at once. So the first book is Dulce de Leche. This is Recipes, Stories, and Traditions. It's by the author Josephine Caminos Oria. And something interesting, Chef Mira, these recipes all have dulce de leche in them. So some are traditional postres, some are traditional desserts, and some it's mixed into other maybe more savory dishes. And I thought, oh, that's a fascinating that. And the author does share some of her personal stories and memoirs interwoven with the recipes. So as you know, dulce de leche is the very sweet caramely filling that you find in many Latin American desserts. And then the second book is more of a traditional cookbook. It's called My Sweet Mexico. It's by Fany Gerson, and it's about her travels through her native Mexico, and it is a catalog of different desserts from different parts of the country. So if you are a dessert enthusiast, you can check that out on our Libby app, which is another digital streaming service we have. You can find this all at hcplc.org/ebooks. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera, and I will be back at the end for the questions, and I will go ahead and turn it over to you, Mira, so we can learn how to make these desserts.
Amanda, it's always a pleasure to see you and work with you. So thank you for having me again. To everyone joining in, welcome to our kitchen. And yes, I'm so happy that I'm going to share these recipes with you. Now, like Amanda was saying, I'm also a dessert person. I just try to be more mindful of how much sugar I eat. But this is a special occasion and we love this type of recipe. So I'm going to move it over here so you can see what I have. So we'll go over the ingredients and the two recipes we're making today. And then I'm going to show you the steps, how to make it. And we'll also answer any questions. And if you have made this recipe, please let us know how you make it because there's different variations of it. Now, I'm going to also share something real quick. Dulce de leche. If you don't know how to make dulce de leche, you could take a can of condensed milk and you need a tall pot. You want to fill that pot almost to the top. Well, not almost to the top because you want to get it boiling, but that it covers the can of condensed milk completely. So you want to put the can of condensed milk, cover the pot, and then if you boil that or keep it in a medium high for about 4 hours, and then let it rest completely. When you pull it out and you open the can, it's gonna be brown and caramelly and it's gonna turn into dulce de leche. That's exactly what that is. So I just wanted to share that with you. But today we have two recipes. We have arroz con leche and we have pastelillos de guayaba. So those are guava pastries and a sweet milky rice or sweet rice. And the sweet rice, this recipe in particular, this is so traditional from Puerto Rico. I'm wearing my flag today, the Puerto Rican flag. This is a gift from a friend of mine from Puerto Rico. She also sent me some traditional Puerto Rican candy or, Hispanic candy. These are sugary lollipops. And then we have, this is coconut candy. This is another type of coconut candy. And then the sesame seed little pops that I grew up with these candies, so I wanted to share them with you. But let's get started. First, we're gonna start with the dulce de leche, dulce de leche, with the sweet rice, el arroz con dulce. And then we'll do the pastelillo. So for the arroz con dulce, you're gonna need a medium pot, and I have it on medium. I'm gonna go a little bit medium high now. And then the ingredients we have right here. I have 8 ounces of coconut milk. I have half a cup of rice because we're making a smaller batch. You could duplicate or, make this recipe for more, but I only have half a cup. And the half a cup of rice, it's been soaking. You want to soak your rice. If you could soak it overnight, even better. That's going to get rid of the starch, and it's going to let the grains get tender without getting mushy. Because arroz con dulce is like a rice. It's kind of like a rice pudding. It's gonna be that texture. So I'm gonna get rid of the water and just keep my rice. Then I have some cloves here, very aromatic, very traditional, especially during the Christmas season, the holiday season in Puerto Rico, in the islands. This is one of the dishes that you're going to find. I do know that in the Dominican Republic, they don't make the sweet rice, they make beans that are sweet. Is traditional on their island. Then I have here, when Amanda asked me how to make this healthier, I'm like, well, I don't know how much healthier I can make this. But instead of using regular sugar, I am going to use coconut sugar. That is a more raw type of sugar that doesn't go through the bleaching and processes. So I'm going to use some coconut sugar. You could use raw turbinado sugar. It's just not going to be the white rice. It's going to get some color. Then I have some cinnamon, and I'll read to you the amounts. I just want to tell you. And then we have some ginger. If you have fresh ginger, that's going to be more of a pow. And I'm using today powdered sugar, but usually this recipe is with the sticks, and you're just gonna, put them in the water. So let me read you real quick the amounts so you know how much is it. So it's half a cup of rice, 6 cloves, 2 tablespoons of ginger powder, 3 tablespoons of canela, 8 ounces of coconut milk, half a teaspoon of salt, and 3/4 cup of coconut sugar, or the sugar that you prefer. And what we're gonna do first, and then I got here some dried cranberries. The traditional recipe is with raisins, but this is what I like and what we have, so we're gonna make it with that. So I got my pot is a little hot. I'm gonna add first half of my coconut milk. And then I'm going to measure first the sugar, because we want the sugar to start melting. And it's a quarter, a 3/4, so there it is. Then I got my cinnamon, got the ginger. Obviously, if you want more flavor of the cinnamon, which I do, I'm gonna add more when it's done. And then I'm gonna add about 6, 8 cloves. And we're making kind of like a tea. We're steeping all of these condiments, which are warm condiments, and it makes sense that it's so popular in the winter months, because these are warm spices. And we're gonna mix them, making sure that that cinnamon breaks down. See the steam coming up? That's what you want. Because I use coconut sugar, it's gonna be a little bit more brown. But if you want to use the regular sugar, go ahead. I recommend the raw turbinado, because that is regular sugar. It's just raw, not processed. And it's that simple. We want to steep it. Just get those spices to melt together. And once everything is cohesive and together, I don't have any more bubbles, everything is nice and smooth, I'm gonna add the half a cup of rice. And to that, I'm gonna add half a cup of water. Then mix it. And we're going to cook this down. We're gonna let it simmer now. I'm gonna cover it, but I'm gonna leave the cover halfway, not halfway, just gonna leave a little bit tilted, so we get some of the steam out, and the heat, now the rice is going to absorb that coconut milk and with all the spices, and it's going to start getting plump, right? So by leaving the lid a little bit tilted, the excess moisture is going to start evaporating and drying that rice. So we're gonna leave it on medium high for pretty much the first couple of minutes, maybe 2-3 minutes until it boils. And then once it boils and it starts drying, we're going to cover it completely and lower the heat until that, so that rice continues to get plump and absorb all those flavors. All right, and then I'm gonna add the cranberries at the end. I'm gonna move this to the side. And while that is cooking, and I'll show you the final product, I'm gonna get my dough and we're gonna start the pastelillos. Pastelillos de guayaba are definitely my happy place. It's one of my happy place. This is a puff pastry and I had it in the refrigerator because if you try to work with it while it's melting and room temperature, it gets really sticky. And I want it to be defrosted, but I also want it to be pliable, okay? And I'm gonna show you a couple of ways. For the pastelillos, you're going to need the puff pastry, pasta de guava paste, which comes like this or comes in a can. And then I have an egg wash here. This is 1 egg with a 1/4 cup of oat milk. And that's to brush it. So I'm gonna show you a couple of ways that you can make this. The traditional way and how bakers that I know make this is they just cut a piece of the pastry, right? Oh, I have a tray with parchment paper and I'm gonna sit it right there. Then we're gonna make one that is gonna be kind of like a log. And you could always, once it's out of the refrigerator, you can play with this and kind of stretch it a little bit, even with a rolling pan, to get a little bit more, make it a little bit more pliable, like I just did with this one. See how if you manipulate it and you start touching it, the warmth of your hands is gonna make it even more pliable. But you don't want it to get sticky because then it's gonna be a little messy. So this one is a big one. So I'm going to add some of the pasta, the paste right there. And then I'm going to just close it. I'm gonna add another piece because that one looks lonely. And then I'm gonna close it like a pocket. Just like that. And if you can see this, I'm gonna cut the seam right there. I'm just gonna open it. And this is the next one. And I'll show them all to you once we're going to brush them. Then, if you want to make minis, it's the same process, just cut a piece. This is gonna be a smaller one, so I want a smaller piece of the guava. These are great when you're doing like appetizers, this little bite size. And then close it like a little packet. And by pressing again with the heat in your hands, by pressing it like this, that's going to seal the dough. If you could see that, how nice and close it is. We'll put that there. Then we'll make a medium one. Just cut them evenly. This dough is very forgiving. If you could always, brush it with a little bit of water and put it back together. That's big enough. This is another size. Again, press the corners together. Now this long one, and then there's a tiny one here too. I'll do this tiny one. And this one, since it's not cut, I'm going to roll it and make like a little log. Right? And then press the center so when it goes in the oven like that, it don't spill out. But you have it right there. Now I can move this here. And we have different sizes, different ways of making it. And this one has no guava. I'm just gonna Cook it like that. Then I have my egg wash with oat milk. You could do water. You could do melted butter if you prefer. What this glaze does, it just gives it a nice shine to the dough, and it helps it like puff up and get nice and puffy. Now we have the oven warming up, heating to 400 degrees. Puff pastry cooks really fast. So I have it cooking to 400, but I'm going to actually, before I put them in there, I'm going to do 375. One, because my oven has been on for a while, so it's really hot. And two, because it's a conventional oven and the air flows and it's gonna cook it even faster. So we're doing a timer, we'll do 10 minutes. And they're going in the oven. As you can see, we're not adding sugar yet, but you can, if you like, you could sprinkle some sugar on top, but we're gonna do that at the end when they come out. So I have the flat one that has no guava paste because I'm gonna show you something, how to do something with it. Then I have the different sizes and shapes. You know, I didn't make the little bowl, but I'll show you what it looks like. And it's gonna go in the oven with the timer of 10 minutes. Woo, that's hot. Now, while our rice is still cooking, for the sake of time, I had previously baked some of the shapes. The only one that I didn't make was this, which is a little ball. And they have been cooling down for 10 minutes because this guava paste is guava and sugar. So you don't want to put it in your mouth as soon as it comes out of the oven because it will burn you. So let them rest for a few minutes. Now, I want to show you first the one that has no guava is just the pastry. Look how it comes out. All nice and plumped. It puffed up really nice. So traditionally, you know, you will go ahead and take it and open it. And then put some of the guava paste in there. You got a little piece. And put them in the oven just for a few more minutes again. And that guava is going to melt. And then this is the little one that is rolled up. Look how cute that looks. And this one, I didn't show you how to make it, but it's simply making a little bowl with them. Now, instead of I'm not going to use powdered sugar, but the traditional pastelillos de guayaba, at this point, you will take powdered sugar and sprinkle them. Instead of that, I actually found it processed. If I could take it off of this, my apologies. It's stuck. Okay. So I processed some more of the coconut sugar in my food processor, the hand food processor. You could add cornstarch to it and it's gonna be similar to powdered sugar, but I don't wanna do none of that. And if I could open it, I'll do it. Okay, here we go. And I'm gonna do it with my hands since I'm at home, but I'm sure that if you're doing this for others, you have tools. And then just sprinkle them to give them a little bit more sugar. But to me, the guava is so sweet that's plenty. I want to show you how this little one here looks like. That's the little balls right there, and then you cut it and you have the guava inside. Then you have the little minis that already have the guava in there. You see that? You have the bigger size. So according to what what and who you're making them for, you got different ways of preparing it. Let me cut this one. You could cut this one in little rounds. Oh, this is cute. And you could lay them, look how cute. And then you could lay them down in a little tray. I'm gonna do that in a plate now. Excuse me. And what a nice appetizer. Now that we're celebrating the Hispanic Heritage Month, this is very appropriate. But through this holiday season, if you enjoy making cookies and making desserts for your family, this is another recipe that you could add. And what a nice surprise for them when they see that you're packing or making this for your events, or maybe making a little goodie bag for them with this deliciousness. I'm gonna put it like that. And these are the guava pastelillos, different shapes. They don't have the powdered sugar. Again, you can pack them with powdered sugar as much as you want, but mine, I'm not going to do that. So, and if you want to make powdered sugar at home, mix regular sugar with cornstarch in a food processor, and you'll have fresh powdered sugar. Okay, now let's go ahead. So let me show you what the rice is starting to look like. So when you're cooking it, you know you're on the right track. So see how that rice is cooking down? It's absorbing all of this. I'm using long grain rice. You're supposed to use medium, but what you can do if you don't want the long grain to look long grain, you could break it a little bit put them in a bag and smash it and they'll break apart. So you see the cloves are cooking in there. Now that it's drier, I'm gonna go ahead and cover it, lower the heat, and this is gonna cook for another 20 minutes in low temperature. Now we want that steam to get in and all those aroma to come together and get all moist inside of that rice. But in the meantime, I have here some rice pudding or sweet rice that I made earlier. And I just want to show you. That's what it kind of looks like. You want it to be mushy, but not, you want it to be soft and kind of like sticky together, but not mushy. You want the rice to still have bites. So now we're gonna plate our rice, sweet rice. Now, sweet rice is served cold. So once I plate it, I'm gonna plate it because I wanna show you how to plate it. But once you plate it, you could put it in the refrigerator. Overnight, overnight it's just going to sit and relax. And then those flavors are going to get even more noticeable. But right now I wanna plate it to show you. I'm gonna add, this is a quarter cup. So I'm gonna add a quarter cup of cranberries, dried cranberries. If you prefer to use raisins, that's a traditional ingredient, is the raisins. And we're getting into cranberry season, so this is a good way to use those cranberries this holiday season too. And then I'm going to plate it. Remember that you want to leave it in the refrigerator overnight or at least 4 hours before you serve it. Let me get some of those cranberries on top. There you go. And then I'm going to sprinkle it with just a little bit more of cinnamon, ginger, and I'm not gonna add more cloves, but that's it. And that is arroz con dulce, which is a sweet rice traditional of the Hispanic community's holiday season. Now that it is almost done and it's gone to that point, I'm gonna add the rest of the milk. What that is gonna do is gonna ensure that rice is gonna grow. It's gonna double up again. It's gonna grow. It's kind of like a step, like when you make risotto. You know, you wait for it to dry and then you add more. You could add it all at once, but I find that making it like this kind of makes the rice plump a little bit more. So if you have the time, do it that way. Now we'll cover, and that is it for that. We're going to let it cook In the meantime, let me bring this back and show you our two beautiful recipes that I'm going to eat. Now, this is my favorite right here. I'm gonna take a little bite. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice and flaky, sweet, perfect for coffee, whether it's black or with cream. Tea, I'm gonna have me some of this with tea tonight. And then again, this is a beautiful dish that you can make ahead of time. Plate it however, you know, you could plate it in a big dish and serve it family style, or you can make it individual cups so people can just grab them and have a little snack to snack on. Preferably the little cups or little round plates will be better. You hear that? That's the pastry. Let's go and check it. So that's what they look like. I'm gonna just turn them so they cook from the other side. And we're gonna do another 3 minutes. Sorry. There you go. All right. So that's how those are made. So if you have another recipe that you made like this and you have tips for us, please share them. Or if you have any questions, Amanda, anyone has any questions? While I eat this.
Okay. So thank you, Mira. As always, it looks so good. I'm taking a good look at the pastries and the arroz. It looks very good. Yum. I like that too because I like that it uses the puff pastry because that to me, as an at-home baker, is very doable because it's fast and it's clean and easier. Okay, we do have, I just want to remind people we are going to be putting this video on our library YouTube channel, Tampa Hills Lib, and I'm going to share the events page where you can link from that. But could you repeat the ingredients for the arroz recipe for us, just so people at home?
It's delicious.
Oh,
I just
it looks
took a bite,
delicious.
the ginger and the cinnamon on that rice. And let me tell you, even though I grew up with this wasn't a favorite of mine when I was growing up, the rice. But now I like that.
It is very much, even though we don't have much of a cold season, it is very much because it does have those warm spices, a comfort food.
It's like
fall, winter food.
Fall, winter food, right? The ginger, it's like you taste first the cinnamon, but then after that is the ginger, and the ginger comes like bright on the recipes. It's really good.
Interesting. The cranberries. I love to see cranberries
in it
you don't
too.
see as much, so
say that
I like
again.
that. Well, I said I liked your substitution with the cranberries. I like to see that, and you just don't see it as much. So the cranberries there, but nice tanginess. I would think it would add.
I like it. The raisins will just bring even more sweetness, but I think the cranberries do a good job at that too. So we have, let me share the recipe again with you, okay? How we make this. So this was half a cup of rice. And of course, if you want to make more, just duplicate the recipe. The half a cup of rice, you always want to soak your rice first before you cook it, and then rinse it before. One, you're removing a lot of the starch. So it's going to give better, it's not going to be smushy when you cook it. It's going to still have bite. Then there was 6 cloves, 2 tablespoons of ginger powder. If you have fresh ginger, 1 tablespoon will be enough. This is more potent, okay? Then we have 3 tablespoons of canela, and whichever more you want to top it at the end. We have an 8-ounce can of coconut milk. The higher the quality, the better for you too, obviously.
And is that Oh, a question about that. So I know sometimes it comes in the full fat or the light or does it matter which one you get, or either could work?
Well, for something like this, I got the full fat because I wanted kind of like the full effect of it.
Right.
So that's kind of
That,
like a preference, but I like using the full fat coconut milk. I feel like it gives it more creaminess than using the light. Yeah. So
and
so
it
it's
does
a
seem like
preference.
in baking and cooking a lot, they do prefer the full fat, which is, it's coconut, so that some of those are those healthy ones.
It's a
So
good fat. It's a
yeah,
good healthy fat. So it
it
is.
is.
So we use the full fat on this one, and I
Okay.
recommend it just because it's gonna give it more silkiness.
Richness. Yeah.
Richness, yes, that's the word, richness. And then half a teaspoon of salt. I really did a sprinkle just because the rice, even though this is a sweet dish, the rice is gonna need salt so it doesn't taste bland. Salt in these type of dishes and in desserts, what it does is kind of enhances the flavor of the sugar. Like it ups, like the coconut milk, the seasoning, the salt is going to make it more pronounced on the recipe. And then I use 3/4 cup of coconut sugar. You can use raw sugar, turbinado sugar, or you could use the coconut, or you could use regular sugar. That's fine too. But my preference was to use the coconut sugar. And that's the recipe right there. So hopefully you can surprise your families these holidays, this fall season. You coming home again. This one is not cold and I actually like it. But I know that once it goes in the refrigerator, those flavors are going to get more enhanced and it's going to get a little bit more sticky too. I made mine dried. Like you can make yours a little bit more wet, adding more water or coconut milk, but I like the recipe like this and it tastes real good.
Speaking of Chef Mira, that is another question we have. Speaking of sticking it in the refrigerator, is there, this seems like it would also be a good make ahead recipe. You could kind of take it in your lunch, or you could make it ahead and then serve it because it is served cold. How long will it last in the refrigerator? Probably.
Basically, um, after I would say a dish like this, maybe 5 days
Okay.
in the refrigerator. After three, anything that you put in your refrigerator after 3 days is gonna start changing. But because it
Right.
has so much sugar, which is a preservative, it's gonna act as a preservative. This will be a good dish, 5 days. It could be, you could still eat it. No more than 7 days. The rule is after a week, things like this, you just wanna, bacteria is growing in it, and it's going to give you a little bit of a hard time digesting it. And then some people will say, well, I got my stomach, I could eat still. Well, fine, but there's still, a reality there. Let me check on the
Right.
pastry. Yep, here we
Right.
go. Oh, these are nice and golden, nice and
Oh,
brown.
those
Look
look
at
good.
that.
Those
Look how
look good. Yum.
beautiful. Oh my goodness. Ooh,
Oh, we also have a pairing combination for a recipe, which is flan with kumquats. They say it's surprisingly good. So I'm picturing kumquats kind of have a little bit of the bitterness in there. So that's interesting.
correct. Yeah, kumquats will have that citrusy, tart
Yeah,
bitterness. That will be. I
like
like candy quacks. Like you could candy them and then use them to top desserts or drinks, and it's delicious too. Yeah. So this
that
is
would
what
be
it
good.
looks like. I'm going to. I think I need a
Okay.
phone to grab it because they are hot. But look at the one that rolled up, how it puffed up. No, oy,
Oh, hi.
I got it.
Good save.
Yeah. And at this point, you want to let them rest for 10 minutes. If you sprinkle them with this powdered sugar, as soon as they come out, that powdered sugar is going to melt and you're not going to see it. So you want to wait for at least 5-10 minutes until they cool down, and then you come and you sprinkle them with your sugar on top, and they look nice. And of course, you use as much as you like. And like for me, they're sweet enough. Where with a little bit of that coconut sugar on top, that's plenty for me.
Um, Okay, we do have a follow-up to the kumquats. It says that it makes it sugar makes it less tart, but the kumquats are good for people with less of a sweet tooth, which is good. It's not me, but I do understand that. Yes, no, but
Mm-hmm.
that is nice to have a different range because, like you said, some things are very sweet naturally, and it's nice to have. And flan does have the sweetness depending, on your recipe too. So that is a nice. It's nice to bring both those flavors in. So that I'll have to add to my recipes to try. It looks like we are out of questions, but that's okay because we're also running out of time.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and bring up just our closing information. If anybody wants to squeeze in one more question. Oh, yum. That looks very good. As a reminder, if you have any questions about finding our programs, getting in contact with us using your library card, maybe finding those books we recommended in our book shout out, you can always give us a call at 813-273-3652, or you can contact us online at hcplc.org/contact. Oh, yeah. We've shared some recipes and stories with you today, but we also love to hear your library stories. So if you do have an experience with the library and you want to go ahead and submit that, whether it's attending a program, going in to visit the library, your local library, a book you want to share, you can always go online and share that with us at hcplc.org/stories. And then, of course, this is part of our Hispanic Heritage Month celebration. If you want to go to our landing page and find our upcoming, we still have one program left, our cultivated book list, and anything else we have going on, you can always find that at hcplc.org/Hispanic Heritage. Well, Chef Mira, as always, it looks delicious. I wish we could taste it through the screen. Unfortunately, we can't. I want to thank you for another wonderful program, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We hope we will see you in a program in the future.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.